All right. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we have got the Utah 2024 governor debate, which is currently taking place right now. I'm joined by Phil Lammy, and we're just going to get straight into it since it's already going. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Let's make sure it's going.
Transportation. Utah's rapid population growth is putting a strain on our transportation infrastructure, and many residents are concerned about congestion, commute times, and access to efficient transportation. What are your plans to expand and improve transportation options in the state of Utah?
Okay. Well, I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the reality of the political environment in Utah. Were a libertarian to be elected governor. We have legislators, 29 in the Senate, 75 in the House. Probably only a handful, if any, are going to be libertarian. Now, maybe half of those are liberty-minded. There are actually, I think, a good number of legislators up there who I think I could work with on a pretty good basis. So on transportation, I would listen to legislators because they're studying these issues. They're attending the committee hearings. I would listen to their guidance on what they have to do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it has to make sense for the average Utah commuter and person who uses transit and commutes to work every day. So I'd want to listen to them, but I'm worried about federal subsidies, creating perverse incentives. And of course, I'm worried about crony capitalism and giving money to the folks who do these transportation systems.
Mr. Cox?
Yeah, thank you. And I will get to that. I want to just very quickly give a shout out to my friends, my people in coal country. There are people out there who have dedicated their lives to giving us the cheapest, most reliable energy in the country. And they deserve the credit for what they've done. This dismissiveness that I'm hearing from people who have raised their families living in coal country is very disturbing to me. And I just want them to know how much we care about them. Look, we have an incredible opportunity over the next 10 years. The Olympics are coming back to Utah in 2034. This is an opportunity for all of us. And I've been meeting with every mayor, every city council member, every county commissioner in this state and talking about the opportunities that we have right now. We are so fortunate to have a Department of Transportation that is recognized not across just the United States, but across the world. And we have to increase transit. We're going to do that over the next 10 years. We have the largest trails program in the country happening right now in our administration. We want to connect every community in Utah via trail. So you can walk, you can bike, you can find other ways to get around. And last thing, we're going to go vertical. We're going to go vertical over the next 10 years. Talk about the Jetsons. It's going to look a little bit like that, but we'll get there.
Thank you. Mr. King.
Thank you. There's a lot that we can do.
A little like the Jetsons. What the hell is he talking about?
Maybe he's talking about the ski lift, you know, the one the taxpayers have to pay for, that connect the valley to the ski resorts that are totally for profit. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
That means that we have a chance to do transit projects that we wouldn't be able to do necessarily without that. We need to do more transit-oriented development. We need to make sure that people can live and work and stay in their own communities rather than having to commute 30 or 45 minutes in their cars. That's wasteful of their time and energy.
Well,
it's dirty.
And let's be honest with what Brian King is saying here.
We can do a better job of making sure that our local communities,
people choose to live where they want to live and work.
Our transportation in a way that improves the quality of life and benefits families. So there's a lot that we can do there. As your governor, I look forward to being able to work with cities, towns, counties, and of course the Department of Transportation.
Our last topic in this category, we've alluded to a little bit, but it's housing. Housing in the state of Utah. It's a concern for many of our residents who are looking for solutions. How would you address the challenge of increasing affordable housing options across the state to ensure more Utahns can find homes they can afford?
Yeah, and again, we have touched on this, and I'm excited to touch on it again because it was my #1 priority going into the legislature last session. We have to build It is the only answer. Sadly, over the past 15 years, we've stopped building starter homes, homes that are under $400,000, homes that are under $300,000. And so we sat down with experts. We worked with everybody, the League of Cities and Towns, our county commissioners, working with developers, everyone in the space to figure out what we could do. And we have come up with a plan, again, to build 35,000 starter homes over the next 5 years, homes that our kids and grandkids can afford. I shudder to think what our country will be like if we have a generation of people who can't afford real property. Every governor is struggling with this. Every developed nation is struggling with this. This is not just a Utah problem, but
land is cheap in Belize. That was just there. Come on, guys.
I love my kids just like all of you. I want my kids to live near me. I do not want my kids to live with me. And that is what we're going to do, working together.
That's a really odd thing to say.
Forward. We just had the first 200.
Well, he said 35,000 homes. Why 35,000? Why not 100,000?
Thank you.
Correct.
The market sets
We
this.
do want to make sure that our children and grandchildren don't come to us and say, you know,
And
I'd
really,
love to stay
what
in
he's really
Utah,
saying, though,
but I
Jacob,
can't do it. I can't afford a
is
home.
that
If we're the best
he has to
economy
beat
in
down on the
country,
city officials
why
because
is
they're the
it
ones with the
that
NIMBYs.
people have such a
They don't
different
want to
right
develop.
to a home?
And as much as we can rag up on developers all day long, it's really the cities that are preventing development of ADUs and housing. And the few shout outs would be like maybe, you know, Davis County or Utah County, where in Lehigh or Vineyard, you know, these cities or Highland, they're developing land, right? They're approving projects. That's not the case in every city, and those cities are the problem.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, if we can't see that there is a massive conflict of interest with a lot of our Utah politicians being involved in the real estate industry in the first place, it's kind of moot whatever we decide to do, because until we address that, then I mean, things are just going to keep getting worse in our state.
Let's see what Rob has to say.
In Utah. And look, one of the issues about the Utah legislature is it is composed of a large number of developers. And one way developers make their money is to reduce the supply. And when you reduce the supply, when you have this construction cartel, that raises the cost of housing for the housing consumer, but it makes it certainly more profitable for the developer. And I'm a free market, liberty-minded person who's not going to really put up with that kind of approach. So yeah, maybe they might overrule my veto if they want to do another thing like they just did with the past bill and give themselves a subsidy and increase their bottom line. That's something that would happen over my veto.
Okay. I'm so happy that we have a student question. This is Cassidy Archuleta. She's a student at Salt Lake Community College, and her question is about Amendment D.
You know, there's no debate whatsoever what's going on. It's just a bunch of talking.
For being here today.
Yeah.
This fall, we will see the constitutional amendment regarding
this is the good one.
legislature's ability.
Only one's going to be
to
guessing be like
repeal
Brian King,
and
probably,
modify-
and Rob Latham.
Oh,
Something happened.
let's see.
Cox is going to be pro for this, right?
Legislatures with great power
Yeah.
say to people,
There we go.
we, the legislature, need more power, and it needs to come
Yeah.
from you, the people of the state of Utah. The answer to that question is really simple and straightforward, and it's a hard no. This is nothing but a power grab that we're dealing with in Amendment D. It's a situation where the legislature was very unhappy with the Supreme Court, the Utah State Supreme Court ruling in July, where the Utah Supreme Court said the people of the state of Utah, through their initiative and referendum processes, share power to make law with the legislature. That wasn't good enough for legislative leaders. And they came along and they said, no, we want to put an amendment on the about the state constitution on the ballot and gaslight people and deceive people into voting for it when they're telling us
He's right.
it accomplishes something that it really doesn't. This is deceptive, it's deceitful, and it is something that every Utahn should come out to the polls in November and vote against.
Absolutely
Mr. Latham,
right.
Your response.
I'll be voting no on Constitutional Amendment D. That's assuming, of course, it gets onto the ballot. There was a legal challenge. I know it was heard in court this afternoon. I don't know where that's going to go, but Representative King is right. The language that President Stuart Adams and Speaker Mike Schultz put on there is deceitful. A good lesson in how initiatives have played out in Utah. Recall Initiative B from the year 2000. This was the civil asset forfeiture. It was passed by 69% of Utah voters.
Good reminder.
And then law enforcement was upset with it. They lobbied over years to get the legislature to trim it back and trim it back. Now, thankfully, through many years, we have those civil asset forfeiture protections restored. But Amendment D is so offensive because it only applies to altering and reforming government, and something like Initiative B is not that. And the legislature showed that they can address those kind of things that are passed by the people.
Mr. Cox.
Yeah, Cassidy, thank you for the question. This is one that a lot of people in the state of Utah are struggling with right now. There's a reason that the founding fathers did not put direct democracy as part of our national constitution, but we do have it in our state constitution. And it's very important that we have the opportunity as people to propose initiatives and referenda as well to overturn a decision by the legislature. I will tell you the best states in this country, all ranked, have less initiatives, not more. Initiatives should be rare, but they are important, and we have to keep that power available. I'm very glad to hear that Representative King is opposed to expanding the power of the legislature. What most people don't know is the governor doesn't have an opportunity to weigh in on constitutional amendments. That's totally the purview of the legislature. But a couple of years ago, there was a power grab by the legislature, and that was when the legislature expanded their power to call themselves into special session. Unfortunately, Representative King supported that. I think he may be lamenting that a little bit right now. But sadly, that's outside the purview of the governor right now.
Jason.
30 seconds on this topic.
Thank you. The governor is deceiving you in the same way that the legislature is. He signed 2 bills coming out of the special session 3 weeks ago that enabled this constitutional amendment to get on the ballot in November. He doesn't want to talk about that. He's complicit with the legislature in this power grab. And that's not unusual. He's a lapdog for the most extreme and the most divisive voices in the legislature.
Okay.
Jason,
Mr. Latham and then Mr. Cox.
I'll also just direct voters to my Twitter account where I post the friend of the court brief that the governor submitted to the Utah Supreme Court, asking them to side with the Utah legislature against the League of Women Voters in supporting that amendment. So he's already displayed that he is with the people who have put this very deceitful constitutional amendment forward.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be very clear here. What my colleague just accused me of is trying to keep the.
He won't address libertarian candidate. He's like Brian Kemp of Georgia.
Yeah,
That's
a third-party candidate. They always do this.
Anything we've heard up here. The people should
but
have
what
this
was actually
voice.
kind of
And
interesting
if
is
you
he
don't
did
support
like
it, then
address
vote.
him, but there was in a way that he was able to agree with him. So it seems like Governor Cox is going to address Rob if he can somehow agree with the point itself. So
Right.
Or services for
My way or the
children and
highway.
individuals with disabilities. This fall, Utahns will be voting on a constitutional amendment that would expand the uses of income tax to include other state needs. Please explain.
Oh, the easy
why
answer.
you
Get rid of the
would
income tax.
support or
Come on,
oppose
guys.
this
This is
amendment.
the easiest answer.
If it's-
Join
if it's
Nevada
the
and
way
Wyoming
in
and
a
Texas
constitutional
and
amendment
Florida
A,
and Tennessee
that's
and Washington
supposed to
State
decouple the
and
income
other
tax
states. Get rid of the income
from
tax.
Education, but let it be used for other purposes. I know there's disagreement among liberty-minded Utahns about this amendment. I currently support it. As a libertarian, support the separation of school and state. I think that market-based education just delivers a better product for children and their families. And I get that it, goes to possibly, budgets that you oversee as a University of Utah administrator. But I think we need to move away from state-sponsored education just because they affect the curriculum. I mean, we have a law in Utah that teaches young people about adoption and all the trauma that causes, and they're just being indoctrinated rather than educated.
Thank you. Yeah, to you, Mr. Cox.
Yeah, thank you. This amendment does something else as well. It removes the state portion of the sales tax on food. It's one of the ways that we are fighting against the federal government and the inflation that we're seeing.
Yeah,
I
they're
fully support
coupling.
removing that tax
They're
on
coupling
food and expanding
popular
what we can
things with
spend
unpopular
income tax on.
things.
Look, this happens every year. The legislature ultimately decides and then passes that on to the governor, a budget. I am so proud of what we've been able to do for education. I made a promise to the
Just make a
people of
clean
Utah
bill.
that
Come
I
on,
would
guys.
increase
Clean
teacher
bill.
salaries
Separate
in
everything.
this state. And we were able to get that done. I was told we would have to give the money to school districts and let them distribute it. And I said, absolutely not. We are giving this money directly to teachers. Now, there was a report that recently came out from the University of Utah.
Get rid of the income
it said
tax.
that
They can keep their own
Utah
money. Come
now
on.
has the second highest starting salaries in the country. Another publication said we're top 10. That is incredible and unbelievable. Just 4 years ago, people never thought we could get up to number 2. Now, we still have a long ways to go, but we can do both of these things. We can reduce the sales tax on food, and we can continue to fund education and increase funding for education in our state.
Thank you. Mr. King.
Thank you.
Increase funding?
Amendment
Why?
A changes the language of
Yeah,
the
quality
state
keeps
constitution,
dropping.
which provides a guaranteed funding source through income tax for our public schools.
Get rid of the income
That
tax.
is
Come on, Brian
something that's
King.
solid. It can be counted on. Now, we're being asked to trade that for pure legislative power about how our public
How can you call himself a
schools
free
get
market
funded. That's not a
Democrat
trade
or
I'm
even a
willing to
Mormon
make,
or LDS
because
and be
I
supportive
see
of
how
taxes?
the legislature changes from year to year. There are a
Come
lot of
on.
public or political winds that move through the legislative system. What our public education system needs is a stable, guaranteed source of income. We have that in a dedicated stream through the income tax revenue.
No, get rid of the income tax. This guy's an enemy, I
teachers,
swear.
It benefits children. It benefits
No.
the future of the state. Why don't we get out of the classroom at the legislature and let our professional teachers do what they do best, teach our children. That's what we really need to do, and provide them with a stable funding source.
I
Yeah.
want to continue on
Get
this
rid of the
theme
income tax.
powers.
Come on,
of the
Rob.
governor.
Come on, bring it up.
The
Get rid of the
Utah
income tax.
legislative branch has grown increasingly influential in recent years. As governor, how would you navigate this dynamic to maintain a balance of power that allows for collaboration between the executive and the legislative branches? For you first, Governor.
Yeah, I wish everybody could see the collaboration that happens behind the scenes at the legislature. We work very closely with legislative leadership, and I'm grateful for the relationship that we have. Navigating 104 legislators is incredibly difficult. Those 45 days.
The Republicans
January
rule the
through March,
roost.
every
Come
year as we
on.
come together. I always tell people to judge the legislature by the bills that get passed and signed. And what I can tell you, we can stand up here, and I'm sure we'll hear that we should veto more bills. Vetoing bills is a very ineffective way to run a state, although it is important and we do it often. The best negotiation happens behind the scenes. There are dozens and dozens of bills that don't get passed every year,
Handshakes.
because of the work that we're
Sweetheart
doing.
deals.
And dozens and dozens of bills that
And
get changed
favors
in a
behind
better way.
closed
It
doors.
really is
Yeah,
about
there you go.
relationships and
Collaboration.
making that happen. And we have the best relationship that I've seen in decades with our state legislature.
Mr. King.
Thank you. I've served the legislature for 16 years. The entire time, we've had a monopoly of power with one party.
True.
And that is a bad thing. Monopolies of power in the political context are not any better than monopolies in our economy. And
Talking from a
nobody wants to have
Democrat.
to
Come
deal
on.
with the problems associated with monopolies in our economy. I'm a free market guy. I'm a small business owner.
Right.
I believe that we are best served when we have competition.
And no
as
income
many
tax.
ideas as we
Can you
We
explain to
simply
me what the
don't
free
have
market
that in the
is
legislature.
before I
Right.
believe
And we
that?
especially don't have
Yeah, he
that
doesn't support
when we
RFK
have a
Jr., so I
government
don't
who
support
is
this.
simply willing
There's
to
no way.
sign
RFK
anything
Jr.
the
would be more
process
free
does,
market than this guy.
No matter how terrible, no matter how unnecessary, no matter how divisive.
Notice that
and
Rob
we've seen
Latham's not
far
in this
too
dual
much of
picture
that.
here. It's just
So
him
what
and
we
Cox.
need is
Yeah,
to have
isn't that,
bipartisanship. Here's the
pretty
promise you'll have with
interesting?
me as the
Yeah,
governor.
they're framing
Every
it.
bill I sign will be a bipartisan
It's between
bill.
those two. Thank you,
And
Utah
that's
Debate
not
Commission.
something that the governor
Your-
can say.
Your biased viewer.
And bipartisanship means that excludes me. It excludes all of us in Utah.
There you
who don't
go.
Cheer for the red or the blue team. And so that's why my
All
campaign
right.
is focusing on underthrowing the government, choosing your own path through intentional communities, mutual aid societies, even what are called FOCJs, functionally overlapping competing jurisdictions. These are competing governments rather than monopoly
Yes.
governments. And by taking the bully pulpit and advocating for these kind of decentralizing solutions. In fact, in the libertarian movement, we have something called Project Decentralized Revolution, which I hope people will take a look at. And that's about returning power back from these monopolizing political interests and back to the people. But I've worked at the legislature. I've been on Capitol Hill for 10 or so years. I know how to work with legislators and get good bills passed and defeat bad bills.
Very good. We're fortunate to have another student question. This is Ben Amundsen, a student at the University of Utah. He has a question about artificial intelligence.
Candidates, I personally witnessed how AI has changed education in our state for both students and teachers. How do you plan to address the expansion of AI in our state, balancing job protection
Not
with
the role of the
privacy
government.
concerns?
Mr. King, you get the first response.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a great question. Technology in some ways is outrunning our ability to keep our lives private. It's amazing to me the degree to which I will go online and look.
Do you think
at
he's
something,
even
shots
aware,
on something,
Jacob,
and then immediately
of
I'll have
the
emails
idea of
saying, "Hey,
the
we saw
consumer
you were
controlling the
looking at
passport of their information, like in the EU,
We've got to make sure
where there's a consumer
Um,
rights, you control your information. That's not the case here in the States. But do you think he understands that concept? The power of controlling your own information?
increase their profits. We've got to make sure that our
You-
children
maybe he
understand
might
that. We've got to make
understand
sure
it,
that our
but
privacy is
I mean,
protected. We can't
the
just
real
say
question
these
is,
things
does he
off of
really
the highest
care?
order, and I think we fail
Because even if he
to follow
understands
behind
it,
in that sense.
if he doesn't
There's
care,
room
then
for improvement here.
I mean, he's
There's a
just going to
lot
do
we can
whatever
do.
benefits
A
him
lot
the
of it has
best
to do with
anyways.
Working closely with people who really understand these technologies far beyond my pay scale, but that's something that would have the highest priority in the King administration.
Mr. Latham.
With regards to artificial intelligence, I'm reminded, I'm probably going to paraphrase this idea from economist Thomas Sowell, that there's really no idea more stupid and counterproductive than giving decision-making authority to someone who doesn't pay any price for being wrong. And if we put government in charge of regulating AI, if they have that power to ban it, they have just as much power to mandate it. And so the last entity I want to put in charge of controlling what role AI plays in our life is a government that can't even, get the mail delivered on time and protect drugs from entering the prisons and any number of episodes of government failure that we expect them to discharge with fidelity. I would rather see the market protect us from the things in our lives we're concerned about than ever authorizing government to do that.
Final response, Mr. Cox.
Yeah, Ben, thank you. Great question and really important. Once again, Utah is leading the nation.
That's Cox
when it
for you.
comes
He
to
recognizes the
most
person, calls the
innovative
name out, and tries to
solutions.
create
We've been
this
working very closely
personal
over the
touch
past year,
thing.
something that my administration proposed
Every
and worked with
time.
some incredible
Every
legislators
time.
on.
Self-aggrandizing.
AI
He's
policy
self-promoting.
lab. This is where we are bringing professionals together. We're bringing companies in. We're bringing the smartest people in the AI world together, and we're working on solutions together.
Says we.
This is
Who's the
again,
royal
the
we?
request of these companies
The United
because they are
Nations.
worried about
The
unintended
WEF.
consequences of AI, but they're also
The
worried about
NSA.
government overreach and not allowing the technology to flourish. And so we're working very closely in this policy lab together to figure out
CIA,
what the best
FBI,
practices
name
are
any
and what
three-letter
the best
agency. That's
policy and
exactly who
regulatory
he's
pieces are.
working with.
I will just note
He's
that I am
saying we,
deeply
so he means the
concerned
government.
about
He
the
really
future
wants the government
with
to
our
be involved in
children.
AI and
This
controlling it.
idea of privacy,
We, the
direct-
state,
handed
because
over
they're
our privacy to
because
these
what they're
giant
doing is
companies, many of
introducing
them
digital
monopolies in
ID
this
and
space. We have
CBDC.
to turn that back. We have to increase, and we have to empower parents, increase privacy for our students. For
Parents
our
already have the
kids,
power.
and
What is he
get those
talking
big
about?
companies
See?
out of our homes, our bedrooms, and out of our wallets.
Thank you. This next question is about one of the most important powers that you have as governor, and this is dealing with judges. It's a discussion
Oh,
that's
great.
happening around the country.
Oh,
and
kind of
certainly
like
here in
how
the state of
he
Utah, about how judges
turned
are
around and
nominated
promoted the
retained,
judge that was
consistent
assigned to
to be
the
one of
David
your
Hambling
responsibilities
case
as governor
just so they
is
could get it
nominating
thrown
these
out.
judges. What would be the most important
So
quality
promoting
you
judges to get them off
prioritize in
cases
your
so,
judicial
you know, they can
nominations, Mr. Lee?
release a very well-known
Thank you.
criminal.
And I'll just indicate that when I was a law student up at the University of Utah, I was the chapter president for the Federal Society for Law and Public Policy Studies. I was later, as a lawyer, the Salt Lake City chapter president of that. Now, the Federal Society gets a bad rap by a lot of folks, but it speaks to both conservative and libertarians who feel excluded from the legal academy, from most law schools, from having their voices heard. And so I've actually been thrilled with some of the recent federal appointees. And on the U.S. Supreme Court, I think Dobbs was correctly decided, but now it's turning that decision back to the states. And that's where we need to have the battle over that kind of state issue. But I was incredibly disappointed. I even wrote to the governor about a nominee, Angela Adams, to the juvenile court in the 5th District. You can go to my website, childtrafficking.exposed, and get the history about that. But that was, I think, showed very poor judgment in appointing judges.
Governor Cox.
This is one of the most important things that I get to do is to appoint judges, and it's something that I take very seriously. I just interviewed this week several candidates for a judgeship. Now the question was, what is the most important thing that I look for?
You won't address Rob, okay?
He's
not going
to.
Judicial philosophy and making sure they
duopoly compats each other. They ignore everyone else.
Is very simple. It is to take the law as passed by the legislature and the governor and to apply that law to the facts. Judges are not supposed to make law. Judges are not supposed to decide what they
He's
want
explained how judges work to the simple voter who may not understand it.
It's what is
Like we don't understand judges.
Places in our country. And I'm proud of the judges here. They're not all perfect. They don't all get it right, but we have done a tremendous job. I think we have the best system.
See the self-promoting or the promoting? We're great. We're awesome. There's no problems.
Every
There's no
time.
problem we can't tackle.
Review what they're doing, and then we, the people, after they've been chosen, get an opportunity to decide if we're going to retain them. And I'm grateful that we have fewer activist judges here in the state of Utah.
I want to tackle one question. We're kind of running out of time, so we're not going to get a full minute about. Sorry, Mr. King. Give your response, and then you can take the next question also.
I do want to address
I
this.
think you get a chance to address it. By the way, you have 3 attorneys up here, which is a huge mistake, but I'm the only recovering attorney.
Is Spencer Cox an attorney? Is he really a rancher
I
attorney?
appreciate the chance to respond because I do care very much.
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
Judiciary is one of the
Wouldn't be surprised.
admired the most
So is the
about
lawyers
our
and the
country.
attorneys that are in
And one of
government.
the reasons I changed my mind about the direction that our particular governor was headed was that in 2023, he supported a bill to change the judicial nominating committee selection process to make it so that rather than having judges and lawyers and even lay people send to him names of potential judges, he is the one who gets to choose who is vetting those names and deciding on what
Really?
names will be sent to him.
I didn't know that
And we
changed.
moved our judicial nominating process into the direction of partisanship in a
Yeah,
way that
that's
is
not good.
extraordinarily damaging.
I would agree
and
with
has the potential to take
Representative
us
King on this
down
one.
a more partisan road for how our judges are selected. You ask how I select judges. They have to be nonpartisan. We don't want them political. We want them to follow the law. We want to have them be great attorneys. That's something that we've lost ground on under this governor.
Okay, we're gonna do some rebuttal, 30 seconds, and this is gonna be the end of the normal questioning.
Thank you. I just want to be very clear. Yeah, we did change the judicial
Yeah,
nominating.
yeah.
But the Constitution has not changed, and I cannot.
Yeah, maybe you should
prohibited by
learn
law
what it says again.
from
Go
choosing
reread the
judges
Constitution,
based on
Cox.
partisanship. And that will never change. I hope that doesn't change.
He has it
I think that's
memorized, you
very
know.
important, and I take
He
that
loves
very
Utah so much. He has it wholly memorized, word for word. Frontwards and backwards.
Actions speak louder than words here. I mean, the governor.
Yeah, that's a
supported
sucker's
this.
bet,
He moved
if
it
I've
in a
ever heard one.
direction that made it more likely that partisan considerations will be taken into account regardless of what the Constitution says.
Mr. Lee.
And I'll just echo, I actually think we do have a pretty good judiciary in Utah. I have been concerned about the bill that's been discussed. I know attorneys I respect, I express my opposition to it, and I'm very concerned that it is actually politicizing the courts rather than keeping them the way we've enjoyed, I think, for several good decades.
We have about 1 minute until final comments. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's just a 2 words, maybe one sentence. In a word or two, what makes Utah great? Mr. King.
This should be interesting.
Agency of our people to live their lives free of government interference.
Okay. Mr. Latham.
I would also add that I think our free agency is what makes us punch above our weight.
This is the easiest question you've asked on that, Jason. What makes Utah great? Her people.
Okay, it looks like we have time for one.
Why do you
more
keep
thing
screwing him
here.
over
The most
then?
pressing, this is no word, the most pressing issue facing the
I mean, he
state of
did vote
Utah
for
today.
concealed carry
Mr.
or open
Commissioner.
carry.
The price of housing.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean
yeah.
that is one good thing, but
We've talked about
he's doing
housing.
a
It's
lot
something
of
we
terrible
haven't talked
things
about.
that
The
kind of
Great Salt
cancels
Lake.
that out.
If the Great Salt Lake doesn't get healthy, if it dries up, nobody is going to want to live in or visit Utah.
Mr. Latham.
It's politicians not listening to the voters, and that's the top-ranked issue on the Utah Priorities 2024 survey. Proportional ranked
Boom.
choice voting can fix that, and I support that.
Thank you,
Ranked
gentlemen,
choice.
for your responses today, because we have now reached the end of the debate. A random drawing held earlier determined that the first closing statement would go to Mr. Cox.
Well, thank you so much. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. And I want to thank my colleagues here on stage for this debate. I hope it was better than the one last night. I hope you actually learned something about who we are and what we believe in. I had an opportunity today to meet with the centenarians in our state. Those are people who have turned 100 years or older. And there were 50
President
of
Nelson.
them, 150, but 50 of them were there today. And I have to tell you, there's nothing better that I get to do. I became so optimistic and hopeful about our state and our country by talking to them. They've seen some things in the last 100 years, and they were optimistic and hopeful. We live in the best state in the nation. That's not just the governor telling you that. U.S. News and World Report.
We're expensive,
in
man.
70 different categories, over 1,000
We're so
different data points.
expensive.
For the second year in a row, we were named the best state in the nation. I am so proud of who we are and our people. And you have a real choice. You have a choice to keep Utah values, the things that have made us the best state in the nation, given us an opportunity. I believe, again, the conservative values that we hold dear are exactly what every state in this
Yeah,
nation
conservatives
and
love
this
income
entire
taxes,
country
right?
needs to make our country a better place.
Oh, so
Okay.
much.
I won't let it go.
It's an honor
Income
to have been with
taxes.
you
Income
tonight.
taxes.
62% of Utahns feel we're headed in the wrong direction. And we know why. It's
I bet
because
you're so
the
in touch
gap
with them.
between the problems,
He
the
is.
enormity of the problems that
They
we
actually touch
face
each other. They
and
do.
the
They do
small
hugging.
of
They do
politics
hugging
has
sessions.
only increased. We can do so much better than we have. If you are frustrated with politics, if you feel that elected officials don't listen to you, if you were quietly hoping that Donald Trump wouldn't be the nominee, if you have the courage to vote for Nikki Haley, you're not alone. And we have a place for you. We have an opportunity to
The Mitt
build
Romney
a future
group,
where
the
we
Rhinos.
trust families, and where we can give everyone a fair chance to get ahead, and where we do hard things, no matter how difficult. or
Hey, he didn't reach
uncertain.
out to those that
My name's
voted
Brian
for
Kane.
Michael
I'm honored to be your
Reckenwald
next
or
governor.
Chase
Please
Oliver.
join
You know,
us for the better.
does he know who those people are?
No.
Utahns don't want 4 more years of being bullied and gaslighted. Last year, Argentinians elected a libertarian president. This year, their people and their economy are flourishing. Their plans leave us with a state government that grows more extractive, more repressive, more intrusive, and more abusive. If you trust in your ability to make decisions rather than have a king or a bureaucrat make them for you, please join us in what Patrick Henry called this holy cause. Our prosperity occurs through liberty. Please speak that truth with your vote. My name is Rob Latham. I'm on your ballot. You don't need to write me in. You can learn more about my campaign at freeutahns.org. Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
gentlemen.
right.
For the comments
No
and
writing
for
in.
questions this evening. Thank you for watching this evening as well. And for you, gentlemen on stage, we appreciate your dedication to public service. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Contact your county clerk
November
if you have any
5th.
questions about making your vote count in this election. We greatly appreciate Salt Lake Community College for donating the beautiful and historic Grand Theater for this debate. We're also grateful for the Larry H. and Gail Miller
You kind of had to,
Foundation,
right?
Zions
Legal
Bank,
requirement.
and the George
Government
S.
funded?
Dolores Doria Eccles Foundation for their generous
I believe so.
support of the Utah Debate Commission. This debate and others from previous years are available online at utahdebatecommission.org. I'm Jason Perry. Thank you for being with us tonight. Stay tuned. Stick with us.
All right.
Thank you.
So how do you think Rob did overall?
I mean, so obviously Rob has the message of liberty. I mean, Rob is not he is a more soft-spoken speaker.
Yes.
And he's confident in his words. Becky Edwards is one of the co-chairs. Of course, you know, she's a rhino, of course. The people, if you see the people on these names here, it's kind of crazy. Now, Rob is more soft-spoken. He's confident in his words. He's not someone that you would come out and just have this amazing, charismatic personality. But if you know him, and you and I do know him fairly well, he's got great ideas, and so he offers a great vision and alternative. Really, he just needs $1 million, maybe $100 million, and get a message out. But that's always the case, right? Having advertising dollars. But really, Rob does offer a chance. No need to write him in. I know a lot of Phil Lyman supporters are really upset and their butt hurt. The reality is, Phil Lyman is not going to win. He's a writing candidate. Writing candidates do never win, unless it's some insane thing, and that I've only seen a few times it's happened. But that's not going to happen here. But I'm really proud of Rob. I know him. You know him, and
yes.
So it's an easy vote for Rob. It's not even a question.
Yes, I don't know. Here's the thing. I like Phil, obviously, Phil Lyman. But I mean, he's a Republican, and although he might not be establishment, his party is. And
yep,
electing
true.
Exactly. So unfortunately, electing another Republican, even if it's Phil Lyman, we are not going to get anything different than we have gotten this entire time. And I mean, even if Phil gets in, he's going to be blocked at every chance from doing anything. And so unfortunately, I just don't see even him getting in as a win. I do think that he could be more powerful from outside the system. However, if the Republican voters actually want to send a message to their party, the best way to do that is to vote for another party. And the only other party that matches up about 98% of everything that you already believe in is the Utah Libertarian Party. So I don't understand the aversion. I mean, I get not wanting to take a chance, and I also get immediate gratification and these sorts of things. However, the Utah the Utah Republican establishment does not care about its voters, period. And it's shown that over and over and over. And the fact that they still back Governor Cox, considering he is an incredibly unpopular person with or candidate with the voters themselves, shows exactly how much they don't care. It's
look at the pandemic.
Special interest.
I mean, the pandemic didn't even come up, and Governor Cox was Mr. Pro-mask, Mr. Pro. We're gonna shut things down. Let them shut things down.
Exactly.
And harm people. So I didn't hear anything in this discussion about the pandemic. I would have brought it up. I know there was a very limited time, and there was no debate practically. It was just answer a question. See, Lincoln's Douglas style debates, which are common in the past years, would have been productive. But I got to bounce, Jacob.
Hey, thank you so much for showing up. And now that everything is set up here, I definitely plan on doing more libertarian streams over on the Utah Libertarian page, which is what's up with the branding and everything. So hopefully you can show up to another one next time we do one. Everyone else, make sure and go to, is it libertarianutah.org, I believe?
Or utlp.org. That's right.
utlp.org. Thank you for everyone watching this, and thanks to Phil for showing up. Other than that, stay free, my friends.
Thank you.
See you, Phil.